What's happening, Andy here? I am here joined with Doug Albregts, lead singer and I guess lead musician for Little Falls Trophy. How are you today, Doug?
I'm awesome, man. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you. It's very looks like you were in Minnesota today. It must be part of the world tour.
It's a snow. Yeah, I don't think so. This is the office. It's a snow globe here, Andy. So you got to be familiar with it with where you're sitting. So
Yeah, it's we don't have the snow going on right now, but I mean everybody knows you from Little Falls Trophy, so I don't want to talk too much about it. What I really want to talk about is your side hustle, this other thing you're working on, this other side project. You are CEO of this company. They're called Marco. They are headquartered in Minnesota, where you look like you're actually sitting. Tell us who Marco is and what you do for him.
wow, Marco is the largest IT integrated solutions and service provider in the country. I think I can safely say that, given the depth and breadth of our products. And for those that don't know, I'm the CEO, and yeah, been we had a good year, had a fun year, and it's been a good ride. And been doing this. Can you believe it's been let's see, October of 2019?
I can't believe it. So you got in there right before the before it all hit the fan, really. That's a great time to start a new gig like that. But
Yeah,
Marco, just a historic company, one of the elite in our industry, right? So, you mentioned you're top in the country. You're probably top in the world, because I don't know out of our market that there are companies like you that are at that scale. Wanted to just check in and talk about how was your 2022, and then maybe look ahead and talk about what do you guys have coming up that you're excited about. But let's talk about 2022. How was it for Marco?
yeah. I think the best way to describe it was bittersweet. It was one of those years where a lot of the challenges from the prior year and the pandemic and everything else. There's a lot of holdover. I remember we started the year at about this time last year with just a burgeoning backorder situation, and everybody was dealing with it. I think every OEM had it. Even some of the ones that had real good supply, I think they still had periods of shortages. So it's bittersweet from that standpoint. We had a lot of backorders. Matter of fact, for a company that's north of $400 million, we surpassed at moments in time last year 50 million in back orders. So that put a tremendous strain on the business. And what we found out through that is, we found out a lot about our infrastructure and how efficient we were, and how well we knew our customers, how well we knew the complexities of our business. Because if you have a very entrenched bill of materials, and you've got 60 some things in that bill of materials, but there's 3 items that are on back order, you can maybe partially implement that, but you might not be able to implement it at all. And then you can't enter into a contract, and then you can't get the service piece. So that presented some tremendous challenges for us in 2022. But and we can get into some of the things we did around that infrastructure build. But we had a record December to finish the year, and we had healthy double-digit organic growth in our IT business, and our print business, even though was flat to a little bit of growth. But the industry, again, is still reeling from some of the things that went on there. But overall, we had a great year.
So your growth, your growth was really in managed service. Great, obviously. I don't think managed services probably dealt with quite the level of back order that maybe you did on some of the hardware side of the business. Although maybe you did with computers and network components and things of that nature. But looking forward, there's obviously a big shift in our industry from companies like you. A lot of them have opted to, try to outgrow or outrace maybe that slow decline we are going to see in print over the years, and fill that with something else. For you, it's managed services. You didn't acquire. You have been on the acquisition radar for companies for quite a while. You're the buyer typically, obviously. You didn't buy as many this past year, but you did grow considerably. So let's talk about that, because there are a lot of companies out there that grew considerably, and a lot of it was through acquisition, with a flat print and increases in managed services. How are you growing so substantially? Where is that? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so I would say that, without getting into any specific areas, we can talk about that in a second. But I want to address what you said about the acquisition piece. We did intentionally have a pause, and the reason for the pause was because of the infrastructure build. So we found out, we grew so quickly through acquisition. We did, we've done 51 acquisitions in our history, and that's a lot. And we got really big that we got kind of inefficient, and we had a lot of manual processes in the organization. We were missing, believe it or not, some of our smallest of smallest accounts, which we have 20, 1,400 or 500 customers that have an active contract with us that are buying on a regular basis, north of 30,000 customers. And we were actually missing some of our, what we call our core customers. We were missing out on some of those contracts because we were missing the renewals. Believe it or not, it might be one machine. And so,
Yeah, adds up.
we had some data integrity issues, so we started a dig team recently, which is a digital information group. We call it dig, and we started to revamp the whole process: how we handle renewals, how we handle acquiring new customers, what we sell those new customers. We started a solutions team that architect every contract for us, because even if it's just a print contract, we now are talking about security, we're talking about assessments, we're talking about all these other things that we know the customer probably needs. And that's had a tremendous effect on our cross-sell over this past year. So we paused in our acquisitions because we wanted to fix that infrastructure. One other example of that is robotics process automation. For people that don't know what that is, we hired 4 bots that work 24 hours a day that you can basically program via software to handle manually intensive projects that someone else was doing probably as a job or a side job in their regular job. Bots don't make mistakes as long as you program and write the software the proper way, or at least diligence what the process is. So we started that, and then we also revamped our go-to-market process. We wanted to do all of that before we brought more companies into the fold to grow from an acquisitive nature. We also wanted to prove we could grow significantly organically once we fixed this, and we did. Double-digit organic growth. I would throw that up against anyone as a total company this past year, purely organic. And now, as we get more acquisitive, and you'll see it very shortly here in the new year, there'll be some announcements coming out.
Exciting.
And that'll be exciting. You'll see that we'll be able to plug them into this machine, and it'll be a whole different animal for us in terms of growth.
Well, you mentioned you revamped your go-to-market, and we came out and sat through a presentation that you gave us in 2022. And one of the things you talked about, and I thought that was very interesting, was that revamp, right? And that's what you're talking about is you now have a sales team that sells everything. Instead of a salesperson for this and then a different salesperson for that, you now have one point of contact for the customer, and then they engage within your organization, solutions engineers, or whoever they need to support them, right? And so tell me how that new go-to-market approach is fared. It sounds like it's doing very well, and maybe talk about some things about it that you've learned and were surprised about.
Yeah, I think we got very big, and when we got big, I think one of the biggest challenges companies have as they get and they grow and they get bigger is they lose the what makes the connection with the customer so special, right? And I think that's where we may have been vulnerable with other folks that compete with us in our area. So we wanted to get better data, understand our customers and what they're buying and how they're buying, and how those contracts get renewed, and what are those processes. And I think a lot of folks that compete with us that are listening to this today understand that they enter into a contract that might be 3 years on the IT side, 5 years on the print side, whatever, somewhere in between. And once that contract's signed, they have other than maybe the service person, going back and forth with the account, or the customer, there's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of connection. In some cases, we found we didn't contact them again until the contract was about to be up, and that was unacceptable. So one, we had to find out what were all those customers. We had to find out how well we were cross-selling to them. We had to get much better with data. And when we got all that, we classified them into 3 areas. So we have a major accounts, class of customers, a strategic class of customers. So which major accounts call it 1,000. Strategic, we have call it between 5,000 and 7,000, and then the rest are what we call core accounts that are buying small amount of product from us over a certain threshold, under a certain threshold, and have a service contract with us. And so now it doesn't matter if you're a major or you're a core account. A core account is going to hear from us once a quarter, and they're going to hear from somebody. It will be a touch point. It will be a Marco employee, and they will be calling out to them, and they'll have a conversation with, how's it going? What can we do better? We can add these things through our customer portal with you. If you want to add them onto your lease today, we can do that. How's your security assessment? You want us to do a security assessment? We can add that onto we can add that onto our deal. You can buy it through our e-store. So this is the engagement we're having with our customers, and I think that engagement is going to change everything in our organic growth model here. We now have great data around that. We've aligned our sales organization around that, and we're going to be a best in class, which is one of our gold pillar, what we call our gold standard, one of our pillars of our culture, best in class touch points with our customers. That's what we're going to have. And I think it's going to be really difficult to compete with, but that's what we were doing this past year, was building that out so that when we acquire, we can move those companies into that methodology and be very successful, make them very accretive right out of the gate.
Well, I thought it was super interesting when you were referencing some numbers. I can't remember what they were, but they were significant numbers. When you looked at each of your customers and you said it was like 10 or 20% of our portfolio, each of our customers is only utilizing 10 or 20% of what we actually sell. It was some really tiny number. And it was like, the idea was, everyone's, this isn't a new idea, but let's go back to the customers who like us, right? Who, like you just said, haven't been contacted in 3 years, and start going back to them regularly with other products, other services, keeping them familiar with us. And clearly it's working with your revenue, steadily moving ahead the way it has in an arguably pretty tough year, right?
We went through, totally right. And we went through a rebranding, and I encourage everybody to go out to our new website. We've got, a new logo, a new color.
I was going to ask, I didn't want to blow it for you. I've been waiting for the new logo to come out. We did have that sneak preview there, but we've been good about it. So I'll make sure we include that in the.
Well, it's out on the website. So, we're simple, we're secure, we're better. And it's great when we're renewing a contract and we can talk about, security without inconvenience, right? That's something that an SMB that's doing business with us can understand. And we can offer them application and data security. We can offer them device security, network security. And we have a CISO, in-house with a security team behind that. So we manage it soup to nuts, of course, with CrowdStrike and other partners that we have. But that's really powerful when you can say, hey, we know you got a renewal, it might be 2 devices or it might be 1, but we do that. We do network and infrastructure, and we have relationships with, HP and Cisco and Dell on that side of the networking and infrastructure side. We do software and licensing. So easy to add software and licensing through the portal onto an existing contract to a customer. So, we're doing things like that. And of course, I talked about
you consider that e-commerce, right? That's e-commerce. You have an e-commerce site.
Yeah.
And so that's the next thing for our industry, really. That's a big trend. A lot of companies are looking at it. It's at every show that we go to, BTA and a lot of the associations, they're having speakers on that topic. And you're already doing it. So that's just awesome. Before I let you go and we get, run out of time, I do want to look ahead to 23. I think I'm going to see you in a couple weeks, maybe in Arizona. Is that true? Or are you coming?
Yeah, I'm going to be out there. Yeah, I'm on tour.
We'll be at the Executive Connection Summit. It'll be great to see you. We were on an awesome panel last year. I'm excited to see if you're on anything this year. Are you?
I don't think I am.
You get to actually have fun this year. And
I think I
no
can just sit there and critique everybody else.
Yeah. Well, you were on a great one last year with Rick, and some other people were on it as well. But looking ahead, we had a crazy 22. You had some success clearly in 22. What do you see on the horizon for the industry this upcoming year, and then maybe also for Marco?
I think for the industry, there'll be some stabilization. I think there'll be some further consolidation. I know the number of total, dealers or folks out there in the business hasn't been increasing favorably. It's been probably going the other way. And I think you're going to see a lot of acquisition, from some of the bigger folks out there that are continuing to do that. So I think we'll continue to see that. Our theme for 2023 is all around acceleration and execution. It's technically acceleration, and we've never been this far ahead of our business planning process. We're building it off of our 4 pillars, of living gold, and we're also looking at how we become operational excellent, take advantage of what we put in place this last year. Continuing to have some of the best in class offerings, some of the stuff I just talked about, and then just really continuing that whole thing around aggressive growth, organic growth, because no one really, I should say people that value companies and how successful they are, doing it based on how much you're acquiring. They're doing it based on how much you're growing your business organically. And so we feel like we've never been in a better position for 2023 to do that.
Well, you're marching in all directions, right? I mean, you've got some big guys down in the south that are coming north. You've got some guys out west that are coming east, but you're right there, dead center in the middle of the country. And when I look at your spider web, it's going literally in all directions. You're going south, you're going west, you're going east. You think Marco will be coast to coast, or are you coast to coast yet? Do you think you will be at some point?
Well, I mean, it's, we do business in 12 states where we have 44 locations, but we're probably in north of 35 states where we actually have business. We just don't have physical locations, and maybe not necessarily dedicated Marco employees. So yeah, I think you're going to see that happen everywhere. I mean, there's people coming north, there's people going south, they're going east and west. I think that's going to be the big thing for 2023, is I think you're finally going to start to see some of the big guys. The OEMs have been doing this forever, right?
Yeah.
And I think at our level, you're going to start to see more of that in the coming years as consolidation happens. And it's just the natural migration of markets, and it'll happen here too.
Yep, I agree. This has been awesome. I always love spending time with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Arizona. Hopefully, I'm sure much better weather for both of us. And so safe travels out there. Any last shout outs to anybody, anything you'd like to leave us with before we wrap up?
No, I'm excited, man. This will be fun. It'll be good to see everybody out in Arizona. I hope the weather's better than it is here in the snow globe of Minnesota. So
yeah, it's nasty out here too. Well, I'm sorry we didn't get to talk much about the second album, which apparently is dropping right now, right? And I'm saying that right? I'm a big hipster. It's dropping.
Well, I would say this, everybody should go out and have their hobbies. Some people have their golf. Mine is music is my passion. And yeah, I got another album coming out this year, actually on a label. And then you have to go to my website, lftmusic.com.
LFT Music. We're going to put a link in here, lftmusic.com.
Yeah. If you want to get more information on that, that's coming out, and you can see my hobby, and I do all of it primarily for charity. So that's
the best part, right? Everything for charity. That's one of the best parts about our industry. So we will definitely put some links in there to your merch page, and when you get some hats on there, as I mentioned, I'm going to be your first customer. So looking forward to seeing you, man. Great catching up. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
You got it, Andy. Be good, man. See you out there.
Take care, Doug.
Later. Bye.